Hello, everyone, and welcome to Level the Field Leadership. I'm so very excited that you've decided to tune in today, and I'm hoping that today's topic will be just a little bit different than what we've talked about before. And maybe it might make you just a little uncomfortable because it's not a common idea that we talk about in leadership, but it definitely has its place, and it can certainly get you further than some of the other tactics that might be out there. If this is your first time, my name is Dr. Rachel Gallardo. I'm very thankful that you've decided to tune in. And hopefully this will be valuable content for you. So I want for you to just click the like and subscribe button, maybe to share this with a friend that might find the information useful. I do believe that we all face challenges on our leadership journey. And so anything that we can do to kind of level the field of those challenges and have tools in our toolkit whenever we need them, I think is important. I don't think that we have all of these problems happening all of the time, but you never know when leadership issues are going to pop up. It's kind of like playing whack-a-mole. So if you have a whack-a-mole situation, you can kind of scroll through the titles of the episodes and you can go in and find something that might help get you through that particular issue. I do believe that workplace burnout is very real, and anything we can do to reduce burnout and fatigue in our leadership roles will have a positive impact on our team, positive impact on us, and it then just kind of snowballs from there. So without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce my guest for this particular episode. His name is Joe Davis, and he's an award-winning author and speaker on a mission to bring generosity to leadership. He spent 1987 to 2025 at the Boston Consulting Group, where he served as managing director and senior partner. He led North America and founded its Center for Inclusion and Equity. And in his book, The Generous Leader, Joe offers a seven-part guide to heartfelt and collaborative actions that transform the reader into a generous leader. Throughout his career, Joe has led with a collaborative approach, a commitment to equity, and a track record of delivering results that shape both organizations and communities. Joe, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Rachel. It's great to be here, and thanks for that nice introduction. I appreciate
Sure. Well, you did all the work. I'm just
it.
I'm
No,
just
I
bragging
know.
about you.
Okay, fair enough.
And for those of you that are returning listeners, you know I like to base each topic off of scripture. So today's topic is off of Proverbs 22:9. The generous will themselves be blessed, for they share their food with the poor. So, okay, Joe, let's get into this because generosity and leadership can can kind of rub people the wrong way if you talk about it in certain contexts. So, before we kick off this topic, like how do you define generosity in the context of leadership, just to kind of give us a framework for what we're referring to?
Yes, okay. That's very true. A lot of people say, is this just all about being nice? What are you talking about, Joe? But
Right.
I always say one thing everybody has to remember is a leader does have to deliver results. And I'm not saying you don't do that. What I think is really a generous leader is one who gives of themselves freely without expectation of direct personal benefit, so others develop, grow, and thrive at their full potential, which actually ties quite nicely to your proverb by sharing their food. You define your knowledge and your learning, your wisdom as your food. It's exactly what that proverb says, to be honest with you.
So it's more or less just giving of yourself, not necessarily being overly nice or overly polite.
No, if you want to, I mean, someone can be nice if they want to be nice. Someone can be tough if they want to be tough. It doesn't matter if you're really trying to ensure others thrive at their full potential and you understand your role as a leader is to help them do that. Now, I
Yeah.
would say the most generous leaders really ensure they get a chance, really help them to do that. Others may just say, well, no, no, I'm not in your way. Not sure that's quite the same, but that's okay. It's better than nothing, I guess.
Sure, sure. So, okay, so let's get into it because one of the chapters that I was really kind of moved by, and I think it's just because of some things that we're trying to implement within our own institution. And I actually have a copy of your book here, so I actually legitimately have been reading it. It's not just
Yeah.
me making this up. In chapter 6, if you're on YouTube, you can see what that book looks like or whatnot. But in chapter 6, you talked about recognition and feedback, and I hear it so very often that this is just kind of fluff ideas whenever it comes to leadership. So, can you talk a little bit about the importance of recognition and feedback and how that helps really and truly grow people into their leadership abilities?
It's also, I was thinking about, I mean, fluff, I don't even know how to respond to that or how that helps. I mean, isn't that what by definition feedback is to do? But let me tell you two stories if I may to start. You know, one, when my first job out of college was Procter and Gamble. As a salesperson in and out of grocery stores, you know, selling getting them to put displays of Crest toothpaste and the like up on the shelf. Got promoted after a couple of years. I was in the management track, and I had three reps working for me at first. Two of them were, in my mind, old guys. They were 40 probably. You know, I was 25, so that was pretty old to me.
Right. We were such jerks in our 20s.
I know. Well, no, they were so impressive. I don't know which or both. But you know, I rode with these guys every 2 weeks, and I never said anything to them. Now, one could say, well, you didn't waste your time with fluff. I don't. But the truth is, I was scared. I mean, who am I, a 24-year-old, to give this person feedback? I just was scared. But I was their manager, I was their boss, someone had trusted me. And it was very interesting because got to the year-end review time. And I wrote down for a fellow named Rich everything I didn't see him doing from the training manual, what I'd learned in my 2 years. And I started to launch into this review. And I don't know, I probably got 2 minutes in. And he goes, Joe, what the heck is going on here? You ride with me every 2 weeks and you've never told me any of this? What the? And he had a lot of swear words mixed in there, I'm sure. I
Sure.
can't remember what I thought I know. I froze. But the truth was I was afraid. But the other truth is he was sitting there waiting for me to be a leader and coach him to get better. He actually 42 or 28, it didn't matter if he had been 55. He was waiting for me as a leader to, in fact, give him feedback. It was really eye-opening. I was just simply scared. You know, then I'll flip. I had this may be harsh feedback I received, but I got some feedback once from my mentor was a good guy, but tough. And he said, you know, Joe, I could put you and another person in a room, four walls, no windows, no doors, and give you a tough problem. You can't come out if you can't solve it until you solve it. He said, you may never solve the problem and get out of the room. And Philip will do so. I thought, oh, what's that mean? But then he said, however, when you're out, Philip will never get it done teaming with other people, with the client, or you will get it done 100% of the time. So, you know, I could have withered and taken that as he thought I was stupid. But what he was telling me is you have your quote unquote superpower, which is collaborating and teaming. Now, it might have been phrased in a tough way to get the message. So you might call that fluff. But I'll tell you, I mean, first off, I had to get over the part about, I'm not as smart as Philip. But more importantly, okay, I have something to leverage. He recognized that strength. He made it clear to me I had that strength, which is teaming and collaborating, surrounding myself with people. And I think that really is what recognition and development is, right? I mean, you need to develop some sort of relationship with a person, so there's a little mutual trust. Then you need to recognize what they're great at so they can use it. Spend the time to figure out also what they need to work on. And then you need to tell them. You can't be that 24-year-old me and ride with somebody for an entire year and not tell them. So, you know, I'll come back to your word fluff. I know you just said some people say it, but to all that to me is a long ways from fluff. I mean, those are real life things and
Hmm.
appreciate the feedback I got. And that person was waiting for me to give the feedback. It's pretty interesting.
Hmm.
And that's what well, there's many roles a leader has to perform, but to me, it's pretty obvious that is one of the key roles.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, and quite frankly, if 20-something-year-old you had talked to that particular employee, you could have changed behavior 11 months ago.
Well, no, it was really stupid. I
So
know.
sometimes we wonder why we're not meeting certain metrics or why certain ROIs are not manifesting or something like that. And it's like, well, as the leader, am I really and truly letting people know what they need to do differently for us to meet those marks? Or am I just sitting back and then once the quarter passes and, we fail, then I have this, meeting where we all have to come together and blah, 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 where I could have just addressed it early on and then I could have seen the behavior change early on, so that way this would be a non-issue now.
Oh, and the other point in what you just said is actually, as the leader, you're the one accountable for it not delivering. Sure, you can blame your people all day long, but you're the leader. So
Right,
you work for me and you keep having that problem, you're going to lose your job, not the team. Now maybe
right,
we'll figure out the team
right,
may be the wrong people too. I don't know, but I sure as hell know you, the leader, aren't the right person because to the point you just made, Rachel, you haven't motivated, inspired, cajoled, whatever it might be, them to perform at their best and help everybody deliver.
right, right.
That's
Well,
why
and
this isn't all about being nice,
right.
to your
Right.
opening question.
Well, and it, let's say you're my supervisor and you have that you wait a year and you have that conversation with me. Now for the next year, I'm going to be looking over my shoulder. So how can I really and truly be effective if I'm like, well, is there something that Joe should be telling me or, am I doing this okay? So there's a lot of doubt that kind of seeps into our psyche and we're not able to fully concentrate on what we need to concentrate on because of all this baggage from last year.
Yep, yep. That's so true. And so I think so much for the leader is either one of two things from my observation in all my years is one, they're just afraid to give the feedback. They're just too young, don't know how to do it, whatever. You're just scared, which you're now in the leader role. So it's time for you to step up. I'm now there's ways to learn
Sure.
to do that, and there could be trains and all that. Or you're really afraid of anyone saying anything negative about you because you said something negative about them. But that also isn't very helpful to anybody. And it's also kind of like tough luck. You're the leader. It's your job now. And if you do it with respect, with mutual trust, with in your heart, you really care about them, the generous part, and want them to grow, you can say almost anything. You can make mistakes even. And most of the time they'll forgive you. I mean, you have to understand when you screw up and ask for forgiveness.
Sure.
Um, yeah, it's really to your point. The other thing you're saying, which is when I walked out of that room with that after that, when I was 24, whatever, my boss said, never again write a review where everything you said or that's written down, you haven't said somewhere in the year. And we all
Mm,
hear in the feedback, the best feedback is in the moment. And not if someone
sure.
just got kicked so hard, they're really down, then you may not beat them up. But it's usually in the moment because they can relate back to it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of feedback 101, I know, but
Yeah.
a lot of us forget it.
No, that's so good. Don't put it down in an evaluation unless you've actually verbally had a conversation.
Yeah.
That's really good. So, as you have grown and matured as a leader, what area would you say you have changed the most in and found to be the most valuable when it comes to leadership and your leadership style?
It's been 30, 45 years of work. So obviously I think I've evolved a lot, but
Well, I hope so. I hope you're
yeah,
not the same that you were 40
oh,
years
of
ago.
course, no, by definition, we're not, right? But I would tell you, I think the thing that's changed the most is really my ability or whatever, my capability to slow down, listen, ask others questions, let them finish. Sometimes, you know where they're going, you know what they want to say, and you want to cut them off and move along, but you may be wrong, but otherwise it's just disrespectful. And I remember one time when I was the head of BCG North America, I was at an executive committee meeting the general counsel was talking to me about something. And I knew, well, I'll rephrase this. I thought I knew where she was going. I probably was right, but it doesn't matter. And I started to interrupt her. And she said, I think she swore, but I think she said, Blank Joe, would you just shut up and let me finish? And I thought, oh shit, because I knew I had a problem. Okay, I know where you're going. Let's don't waste time. Let me cut you off and finish.
Mhm.
Well, that's just completely disrespectful. It's stupid because I may be wrong on where the person's going. So now I just missed something very important to know. But it was really, I remember, but that was 30 years of work. If I it really took me to, but it was the way she said it, would you just shut up? So there was great feedback, so direct. I felt like I was being,
Right. That's that
but
immediate immediate
immediately,
information, huh?
but and it made me feel bad, but I deserved to feel bad because I'm the one that cut her off.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing and I just think, you mentioned this, I have these traits of what I think is a generous leader. And I think one of the most critical traits, something I heard from everyone I interviewed as senior executives is, ask questions and then listen to the answer to learn what they know that you don't know. Put the two together and you've got a richer set of insights. Now you can make decisions may vary, but you've got a richer data set. And nobody that I talk to thinks they know it all. I know a lot of people think they know it all, but of course that's stupid because let's talk about chemistry. I know nothing about chemistry. Okay, you know that you don't know it all. So in the conversation,
Right. Right.
don't even dare to say that. But that is so this really asking questions and listening, I think, and really listening for me was where, and I still evolve. I've been married 44 years. I'm better at listening. I'm much better. But you know how that is. You just don't listen to each other and just tell. And I've gotten really good
Sure.
at one other time, a person, so we have upward feedback at BCG. It can be quite harsh. The partners get it's anonymous. And the day it comes out, people call when I was in leadership roles and want to talk about it, sometimes in tears, sometimes not. And I finally learned one time someone just started going off and I started to solve. I said, wait a minute, do you want me to just listen or to help you work it out? They said, no, 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 Joe, this is a just listen call. Just listen. Don't say a damn thing. I mean, you could say, well, that's, but no, do not solve. That was a real eye opener for me too, the power of listening, because sometimes we just need people to listen to us, not fix it for us.
Hmm.
Sorry,
Hmm.
I'm going off on philosophical stuff, not just, life lessons, not just leadership.
Right, right. No, that's one of my favorite questions to ask whenever somebody calls and you can tell that they're highly emotional in whatever the situation is. One of the first questions I ask is, so how can I help you with this situation? What do you want for me to do? And 9 times out of 10, it's, well, I don't need you to do anything, or I know that nothing can be done. Right now, I'm just venting, I'm frustrated, et cetera, et cetera. I think oftentimes we try to insert ourselves into situations that we don't need to really be a part of. And oftentimes we can make the situation worse because then if I pick up the phone and I call so and so because this person talked to me about it, it's like, well, wait a minute, that's not what this other person wanted for me to do. So we can sometimes make it worse if we don't ask those questions of what would you like for me to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Or at least just even start before you ask, just start knowing your job is to listen right now. I mean, that takes
Right.
not to stereotype, but I will. I often think men think their job is to solve, No, no, it's time to listen. It's time to listen. Then you can ask your question. Do you want me to do
Yeah.
anything? No, thank you for listening. That makes
Yeah.
you feel good. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. That's such a good reminder. So, get in this whole idea of generosity because you kind of approach generosity from various perspectives throughout your book. So, how do you balance being generous with holding people accountable? Like, how do you work through that?
Yes. Well, I think it's going to build on what we've said already, but first off, as I said, being a leader, generous or not, you got to get results. So your team has to help you get there. And
Sure.
interesting, I was talking to a guy named Joaquin Duato, who's the CEO of Johnson and Johnson, J&J, and he said to me, he said, Joe, of course, you have to know as a leader, outcomes matter. He said, but the sooner you move past yourself and recognize that the way to get those outcomes is by unlocking all the, he used the word human capabilities of those with whom you team, the sooner you'll drive to great results. So, it's pretty simple, quite frankly, because if you believe or if you know you can't do it all alone, and it's funny, side note, sometimes I think about managers, if they have just new managers, maybe they manage 3 people. And quite frankly, they may be able to do it all alone because they may be able to make up for everybody working all night. You don't want to do that every day. So, but that's by the time you got 10 people or 30 people or 300, it doesn't work that way. The only way
Mhm.
you're going to get results is by ensuring everyone hums as best they can. For people to hum as best they can, of course, they just have to be accountable. I mean, it's just part of being generous. Now, the generous part is if they're failing, you help them figure out how to get where they need to get to. And I'll be clear, sometimes the how to get to where they need to get to, maybe they need to leave your organization and work somewhere else because they're not going to thrive in the role you have them in. I remember
Mhm.
once we were talking about review time and I was running the Washington office and I said, no, this guy's got to go. Oh, he's trying so hard. I said, I know he's trying hard, but he's not going to make the next level here. It's just, it's not who he is.
Right.
Actually, we're hurting him. Well, what do you mean, Joe? He's good. I said, no, we got to tell him. And then he went off to a great executive role at a different company. He got, promoted up.
Sure.
And I thought I was being the nicest guy in the world, and they thought I was being a jerk.
Right.
Why have someone continue to be a, circle in a square, in a box or whatever? I mean, so I think the kind of, you got to get results. The team's helping you get results. Your job is to ensure they're thriving their full potential so you all get there. And if they're in the wrong place, in other words, not being accountable, you make changes. I mean,
Sure. Sure.
so to me, the two aren't in conflict.
Yeah. Yeah. So, have you ever felt that your generosity was taken for granted?
I don't know. It's funny. About 3 years ago, as I was leaving BCG, I went to all our offices just to, talk about my book and talk about leadership and share some BCG observations. And I said, one office, and someone raised their hand and said, Joe, for many years, you were known to be a real jerk or real tough guy or whatever. So what happened here? Now, I think partly what happened is I I mean, I was firm. This is the thing, generosity. If I want you to thrive, Rachel, maybe it works by being sweet all the time. Maybe it works by some tough feedback sometimes. So I think I was firm. So, I just was thinking about that. I don't know if it's ever taken for granted. I do think sometimes my colleagues, might be angry. Well, Joe, why are you caring so much? Or Joe, why are you supporting this team like that? Let's just move on. And, that not taken for granted, but maybe disrespected. And I just, you may just triggered a story when I said that a woman named Fran, she's got a very long last name. She's a chief policy and people officer at Cisco, the tech company. And early in her career, she was when she got promoted to manager, and she was one that cared about her people. Some other executive pulled her aside and said, Fran, you would do well to put some of that care away. It's not really what you want to bring into the workplace.
Wow.
Said, well, I didn't do that because that's not me. She said, if I
Right.
drive hard, I will demand a lot, but I'm going to do it with care and with humanity. She said, so it didn't work for me. And by the way, that it didn't work so well for that fellow either. So I assume he didn't get much further.
Sure.
Remember that, it was very powerful when she told me that because she was being true to who she was, but she was very clear she still expects results
Right.
with care and with humanity.
Yeah. 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 I think we often forget that. And I think we have to remember too, I mean, with any organization, the most expensive line item on your balance sheet is going to be those employee salaries.
Yep.
So you want to make sure that you are leading and guiding those monies in a diligent way and providing feedback and remembering too that this person is not just your employee, but once this person leaves, they're a wife, they're mom, dad, brother, sister, uncle, friend, grandparent, whatever. And so if you can really support them and kind of look at them more holistically, I think we'll be more inclined to get results versus just, cracking the whip and making sure that you do exactly what I tell you to do all the time. That doesn't work. Eventually a dog that's backed into a corner is going to bite back,
Yeah,
you
right.
know?
It's interesting you raise that theme because people have said to me, well, is this just young people expect something different? But I don't believe that. I mean, I think the change started in my mind with the BlackBerry. You remember the BlackBerry? It's all of a sudden you could be on 24/7. So
Right,
work and life started to blur. So a human now was at work, not just, the days of, and IBM's an excellent company, but remember we used to say, IBM, white shirt, blue suit, you were just cogs in the wheel. You went to work 9 o'clock, came up 5.
right.
Or the days of Jack Welch and kind of look where GE ended up. And he was, I thought about this a little bit because he actually did try to develop people, but it was all very much that way, right? Those days are over, and it's, the BlackBerry to the cell phone, et cetera, just blurred this thing. And of course, COVID ended it. I think both of us are not in an office, right?
I know.
So now, to your point on their wife, actually, they're bringing their humanity to work now because they may be at home
Right,
and they expect to see a human as a leader, to really follow you. That's how you really motivate and inspire people to follow you. And it's not just because the young kids are different. It's because the world is changing.
right,
I mean, for good and bad, or I don't know about bad, but for good
right,
and intense. That part's for sure.
right, right,
You know.
right. Well, and I think too that this is just my personal opinion based on what I see in my full-time role from a teaching standpoint. The younger generation does have different expectations, and some of those expectations are not really all that bad. If I'm capable of getting my work done in 5 or 6 hours, why do I need to stay in the office for 8 or 9? Like, why? You're paying me to do it. Now, this is different if you're hourly, so let's take
Yeah.
them out of the pot. But if you're a salaried employee, you're paid to do certain jobs. You are paid to accomplish certain things. And if you have found a way with the use of technology, AI, whatever that might be, to streamline those processes and finish it in a more timely manner, why why should we hold them back from them tapping into the other things that they want to do
Right.
with their holistic human being self? I just they're not necessarily wrong in
Oh,
that
no.
thinking.
Right. But the other thing I'd say, Rachel, just to be careful is also if they want to put in an extra 4 hours because they would like to be the CEO someday,
Right.
let them do that too. I mean, I hate when
Exactly.
people say to me, oh, you work too hard, you're gonna get tired. Who are you to tell me I'm gonna get tired? If I get tired,
Right.
I'll go take a rest. Don't
Right.
tell me what. So we have to remember, someone may want to go coach their kids, critical thing. Someone else may
Sure.
want to work till 8,
Right.
because they want to climb or they want whatever they want. And we
Right.
respect both of them. But your real point there is the fact, oh no, 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, you better be here every second doing whatever because I said so. That's just not
Right.
that doesn't work anymore.
Right.
Technology changed that game, as you just.
Well, and I think it's important too to recognize that as workers, we go through different seasons of life, you know? So we might be in a season where we can put in the 50 or 60 hours a week, and then all of a sudden we're in a season where now we have to take care of our parents or, me, I'm as of this recording, I'm 38 weeks pregnant. So I'm going into a different season of life. And so it's not that my commitment maybe necessarily has changed. It's just some other factors outside of the work environment has changed. And so I'm in a season where I've just shifted a little bit. My goals can still be the same. And I think the more that we as leaders really kind of get to know our people and to really talk to them, like you said, to really listen to them, what they have to say, then we can support them when with whatever season of professional career they happen to be in.
Yeah, it's like, just to build on, it's funny, after COVID, people stopped traveling in a lot of ways, and we even figured out how to work and not have to travel all the time.
Right,
It
right.
was great, especially in the consulting business. But it's so funny because the young people, like the 20 out of college or just out of business school, 22 to 25, whatever, they wanted to travel all the time. They had no
Yeah,
obligations. But the clients in my business didn't need the young person there because they were mainly the analysts. They wanted the 34-year-old who was the manager, but that person had 3 kids at home just getting going and was like, oh my God, can't I be at home 3 days? It was interesting because, wow, someone does want
yeah,
to travel, but the client doesn't want them. And the one the client wants, it's funny, but
yeah,
you work to accommodate that. But I do agree with you.
right.
I mean, we're not going to go in that whole hybrid or whatever, but I just think of it as flexibility. I mean, when I was much younger, oh, here the plumber's coming today. My wife was doing her thing, I was doing mine. Who's going to meet the plumber? And nobody could stay home to meet the plumber because that was against the rules. So now you're kind of
Right,
stuck. What do you do? So nowadays, let them meet the plumber. It doesn't matter. They'll get their work done. If they don't get their work done, we go back to this accountability point.
right, right. Yeah, yeah,
In business, it's always going to fall back to that. If they don't deliver, they're going to lose their job. I mean, that's just the truth.
yeah. So I know that there's a couple of people because we've touched on it a little bit, but as far as the younger generation, and I know that there's a few people listening to this right now that are new to leadership, or maybe they're looking to get into their first leadership role. What advice do you give to them, to somebody that maybe wants to implement this idea of generosity, but in their zone of proximal development, so to speak, they don't see that, and so they know not only am I stepping into a new position, but now I'm going to be leading completely differently than what I see everybody else doing. Like, how do you, what coaching advice do you give them so that way they don't feel as though they're being perceived as weak or naive or, oh, you're just new to this, you'll figure it out. And, they get dismissed by some of these other leaders.
So, we didn't talk about the traits, but I'm going to very quickly. We talked about listening is critical. I think another thing that's critical is being authentic or vulnerable, but I'll come back to that. But another thing I talk about is small acts, big impact.
Mhm.
Remembering, I mean, if I talk to you in 3 weeks and ask you, hey, did you have the baby yet? You'll never forget me. Now, I don't know
Yeah.
if I'll talk in 3 weeks, but or if I have your email and send a note in 3 weeks.
Right. Right.
So I think there's steps. Someone doesn't have to go all the way to vulnerability and cry and all that. That might be too much for somebody. But, as simple as if you're a leader and you're stuck, saying I don't know is vulnerability, but it also helps to unleash your people. Oh, you don't know? Oh, none of us know? Oh, let's start working together to figure out the answer. Pretending you know. So I think there's a couple quick things. One is just ask questions more and listen for what they know that you don't know. Anybody can do that. You can choose to dismiss it if you want to, but even the fact of listening, being generous, it's showing respect. It makes them feel recognized. That's an easy one. I think the other one is try to bring your authentic self as much you can. And if nothing else, start with when you don't know, say, I don't know, because it's not that hard. And then the third thing is small acts, big impact. I mean, I just think I won't go into a lot of stories, but one story, a friend of mine told me, she said, if she tells her manager, hey, I've got, my kid's got a big soccer tournament this weekend on Thursday. And the manager on Monday or Tuesday says, hey, by the way, how was that soccer tournament? She's just like, why, yeah, you smile, wow, you took the time to, you remembered. That's pretty impressive. And you took the time to ask, which the time was a sentence that was like, what, 3 seconds? And then she might
Right.
answer for 90 seconds. So you waste 2 minutes. And she says, I'll follow that manager anywhere. Not literally, but so there's small acts, sending an email when someone does a hell of a job and copy your boss or copy the team. It's real easy to send an email. Hey, thanks for the excellent job. That's
Yeah.
another way you can start to be generous, build a relationship with your team. And it's not remember their birthday. That takes a little more work because you have to put it in your calendar or something. But these aren't that hard of things to do.
Right.
That's my
Right.
advice. Listen, a little bit of authenticity to start and then grow as you can. And maybe just simple small acts that have huge impact.
Yeah.
Job well done, etc. Happy birthday.
Yeah. Yeah. Those can make a big difference. And we have, I live and breathe by my Outlook calendar. Once you put that birthday in there, just tell Outlook, remind me every year, and boom, there it is.
And when I ran North America, I sent happy birthday notes. Very simple, just in the subline, happy birthday, Julie. Hope you have a great day, Joe. And I sent it to 3,000 people. But it was in my calendar. It didn't take me that long. Actually, I cheated. I got more senior. My EA put it in drafts. So all I had to do, if I wanted to edit something, I'd edit it. But I just wake up every morning and then I discovered you can actually future send, right? So I could do it on Sunday and they just go out each day. So,
Yes.
but you need the calendar. If it's not in the calendar, you're not going to remember. That's all.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Actually,
Exactly.
no one begrudged me for having it in my calendar. They're more impressed I sent a note.
I right. Right. Exactly. That's so good. That's such good reminders, especially the authenticity piece.
Yeah.
Um, because people can spot a fake. I mean,
Oh,
you just know, like when you go to buy a car and you just feel like you got to take a shower after talking to the car salesman, like, come on,
oh, I know. Or some leaders feel like, gosh, I always have to be right and I always have to be perfect, etc. You just can't even follow somebody who's always right and always perfect because that ain't you.
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah.
ain't anybody. So you just can't even follow them. And that's
Yeah.
but some leaders get caught up in that. And actually they're hurting themselves. They're hurting themselves.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Well, we're kind of at the point of the episode where I call it the shameless plug. So if there was anything you want to spend the next couple of minutes talking about, I mean, obviously your book, I think it's got some just really, really great information in it. But if you've got any speaking events or any kind of coaching things you want to share, feel free.
Well, two things. I mean, when I started to write this book, as you may know, the average business book sells 247 copies. I learned that. I thought, oh my gosh. And if Brené Brown and Adam Grant sell this many, most of us sell, to your mother and
Right.
your son and your daughter. So I remember when I started this, I said to a friend, I said, oh my gosh, writing this book is not a lot, it's a lot of work and blah, blah, blah. And he said, Joe, if you move 8 people to be maybe a little bit more of a generous leader or, improve their leadership skills, it's worth the effort. So my goal is more than 8 now. But so I do my plug, my ask, I guess, is if anything in any of your shows, Rachel, or this show today resonates with you to make you a little bit more of a leader who wants to help your teams grow, a generous leader, I really encourage you to think about it and grab those things. Then the shameless plug is I do like to speak to groups. If anyone wants to have me think about speaking for them or their organization or anything, you can easily find me on LinkedIn, leave a message. I'll then give you my email and we can go from there. But my bigger
Awesome.
plug is grab a few of these or one of these and do something different today as a leader.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. And I will make sure to include all of your social media and website information in the show notes. So if you're listening to this, you can go check that out and click on those links. I do encourage you to reach out to Joe or just connect with him. And tag us both because leadership isn't a journey that people should have to do alone. So, if you want to come alongside either one of us, or if you know somebody that needs some additional support, we are more than happy to help. We want to try to really make sure that we build this community and support each other, because when I'm having an off day, I know I can reach out to somebody else to kind of pick me up or remind me of what it is that, oh yeah, I did know that. I do have that ability. So we have to support each other. But if you did like what you heard today, don't forget to comment and subscribe. That way you'll receive information whenever new content comes up. My social media information is also available. And I do try to post positive content out there that helps with leadership development because there's so much noise. And I'll leave it at that. Joe, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
That was great, Rachel. Thank you. And congratulations. I know you're only 2 weeks away, but congratulations formally in advance.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Thank you. Thank you. And for those of you that are listening, remember you are made to be a leader right where you are, wherever it is that you are currently leading. And the things that we talked about today can help develop the roots of your leadership so you can weather any storm. Take care of yourself, take care of your team. You can 1000% do this. And until next time.